Okay, we are now even closer to WrestleMania. And ironically, they're really, really hyping a lot of next week's Raw, which ironically is happening near my hometown of Chicago. No, I do not have tickets to it. Kind of had to choose between comics and wrestling, and comics kind of won out. So we began this one by having JR come out, and it was Cole. They couldn't find Oklahoma. He'd probably do it for the money, but more over the top Cole. Eh, it does really make you think that once Lawler gets his hands on him, he is going to straight up eviscerate him. And it is that it's starting to border on almost on tasteless. Bringing up, you know, dead parents, calling your whole family losers. Brian Christopher, yeah, he didn't do a whole lot, but with what Cole was doing on his own, really didn't need to do what he's been doing with Jerry the King Lawler. Bringing in, so your mother died, your father's dead, your son thinks you're a disappointment. It's a bit over the top. Speaking over the top, I guess the coal mine actually has an escape hatch on the top. Because during the Divas match between Eve and Maris, Cole kind of got to the top and was like, this match is horrible, we don't want to watch it. Now, I will say this, they're not two of the best wrestlers. And I thought that the ending of the match was very stiff and didn't flow well at all. Like most matches with Eve, she's a champion, but she feels really, really undeserving of it, which is weird because it is their only women's belt. It was good to see Eve actually try to attack Cole while Cole was on top of his coal mine. The match between Sheamus and Evan Bourne worked pretty good. It showed that Evan Bourne at any point in time can turn the match into his favor. It also showed that Sheamus is finally on a winning streak. That's 2 matches in a row. He hasn't won 2 matches, well, since he initially started and then came over to Raw, and was on an absolute tear. Now, seeing Bryan and Sheamus at Mania should be good. Should be good. Like I said last week, you got room for Snooki, you got room to defend almost every other title at the same time. The match with Core versus Santino and Kozlov. I think the Core works fairly well. I still don't know if they're face, heel, or tweener. They seem to pretty much be beating down the Big Show and Kane. And then took on Kozlov and Santino. Did a pretty decent job, isolating Kozlov in the ring and then defeating him. Pretty solid. And then that post-match beatdown with Show and Kane annihilating the Core, that was good. I wish we would have seen more of that. We should have seen more of people involved in matches, and then when the match is done, that's when you have your run-in. That's when you have your beatdown. Would make a lot more sense. Another really solid match by far had to be the Dolph Ziggler-John Morrison match. With Ziggler coming over to Raw, putting him in a feud with Morrison is good. Those two are highly athletic and put a pretty solid match. That match then became a 4-on-2 intergender handicap match where Ziggler, Lay Cool, and Vicky took on Trish and Morrison. The sad thing was, the little bit that Trish was in this ring has been probably some of the best women's wrestling we have seen on Raw in a really, really long time. And she's pretty much a retired wrestler, and she still puts on a better match than most of the women we've seen probably so far this year. That's kind of sad. But you might as well have her start training some of the divas, if they can afford her. Now they also did, Randy Orton took on Rey Mysterio in the WrestleMania Rewind match. Now being in Pittsburgh, if you remember that match was at WrestleMania in Chicago, I was there for that. Kurt Angle was there to introduce the champion. Now, of course, in Pittsburgh, to do a rewind match that had Angle as champion, but not have Angle in it, maybe kind of a slap in the face. All in all, fairly solid match until they revealed that Punk was in the parking lot at Randy Orton's tour bus, which you talked about earlier, where he has his family. So then Fake Wife is kind of scared at the bus. Orton goes running down to try to make sure that, Punk's not doing anything to his family. Punk then attacks him with a wrench to the back of the leg. As Randy Orton's wife looks on and just kind of like no! What are we to do? I don't know, but whenever they pick a woman to be Randy Orton's wife, they pick ones who absolutely cannot act at all. Essentially, it was just, Punk's way of really getting Orton's head. Can kick him in the skull while he's outside in the concrete. Pretty good and pretty solid, I mean, the Nexus has just been getting demolished by Orton this whole time. So it's good to finally see Punk get at least some measure of revenge against him. Now, of course, I haven't mentioned two sequences yet. The opening sequence was Triple H cut a pretty solid promo about The Undertaker. They are promoting this match to be an end-all, be-all contest. And I'll be honest, when it comes to the matches I'm most looking forward to, that's it. That match is like top on my list of matches that I cannot wait to see. We've seen it before, I think it was 17, where Triple H lost to, I think, American Badass Undertaker as opposed to the Dead Man Undertaker. And it was a solid match. I think it was also no DQ and no holds barred. So this one again will be an amazing match. And the weird thing was, Ted DiBiase, who hasn't done a whole lot of anything recently, decided to come down and try to make a name for himself by defeating Triple H before Triple H would have his match at WrestleMania with The Undertaker. And H just destroyed him, along with the announce table. So now we're down to what's been going on with The Miz and Cena. John Cena was live via satellite. Cut a couple of promos, talked about how he get really beaten up by The Miz, and he's looking forward to showing up next week, as well as when The Rock will be there in Chicago, Illinois. And then The Miz mentioned he was going to have this, huge career-defining moment. He goes down the ring. This is actually your main event, is what The Miz is doing. He's not wearing the title. My first thought is, finally, new title, no more spinner belt. Miz goes on a pretty solid promo talking about how he's going to flip the WWE. So he took the old spinner belt, as opposed to it being a W. He has flipped it, so it now says an M. Cena comes back on and talks about how that's really inventive and amazing and creative, and that he is at home, but his home is the WWE. And then he runs down and essentially beats off both The Miz and the newly rehired Alex Riley, and then STF's Alex Riley like 4 times. So all in all, pretty solid Raw. I know next week we're looking at Taker and Triple H having a giant stare down, and The Rock actually being in the ring. So looking forward to The Rock hopefully either attacking John Cena or The Miz, or both. Or The Miz and Cena teaming up and defeating The Rock. Either way, next week's Raw should be a phenomenal go-home show for WrestleMania.